Good morning, students. We are on lesson 8, body movements, and today we are going to learn about joints. Now, what are joints? The location in our body where two or more bones are joined is called joint. Now, in our last video, we learned about different kind of bones, and bones make a framework of our body. Now, one of the functions of the framework of our body or skeleton is movement. Now, movement cannot be done alone by the bones. They are done with the help of muscles. So, the location of our body where two or more bones are joined is called joint. Like here you can see these are joints where two or more bones meet. Now all our movements are brought about by muscles and joints. Now at joints the bones are held together by ligaments. Now what are ligaments? Ligaments are strong bands of tissues which hold the bones together. Now there are different types of joints in our body. Now different type of joints. There are two types of joints like movable joint and immovable joint. In movable joint we can move our body in different directions, and in immovable the joint is fixed. Now movable joint is hinge joint, pivot joint, gliding joint, ball and socket joint, and in immovable joint it is fixed joint. Now we're going to learn about all these joints. Now in the skull we have the fixed joint. You can see flat bones, they are fixed. There is no movement at all. The bones cannot move at these joints. These are called fixed joint. When you open your mouth wide, you are only able to move your lower jaw. You will not be able to move the upper jaw because this jaw is fixed with the other bones of the head, and you will only be able to move the lower jaw, and there is a joint between the upper jaw and the rest of the head which is fixed, and they protect a very important organ of our body, and that is the brain. So this is fixed joint. Now next we have a ball and socket joint. This joint allows movement in all directions, and you can see over here this is the shoulder, this is the humerus, and here this is the shoulder. I hope you remember, this is the round end of one bone fits into the cavity of the shoulder blade, and here this is the collarbone. Now it fits into this and it moves in all directions. Here you can see this is the cavity, and this is the round end of the humerus, and it fits into this and it moves like this in all directions. Now the hip joint, here you can see the hip bone, and is also a ball and socket joint. This is the thigh bone, and this is the rounded end, and this is the cavity, and it fits into this, and it allows movement in all directions. Next we have is hinge joint. Hinge joint is like a door. It allows movement only in back and forth direction. The elbow and knee joint are example of hinge joint. Here this is the elbow and this is the knee, and they allow movement only in one direction, that is back and forth. Now here you can see this is the elbow, and the way it's only moving up and down. Now this is, you can see this is the humerus, and this is the ulna, and they are joined together over here, and they allow movement in only one direction, back and forth. Next we have is a pivot joint. Now the joint between the skull and the vertebral column is a pivotal joint. It's here near in the neck. Now this is the base of the skull, and this is the vertebrae of the backbone, the first vertebrae. So they rest on each other and they allow movement. Only they allow us to move our head forward, backward, and turn the head to our left and right. Now gliding joint. Now gliding joint. This joint allows only a limited movement due to sliding of bones over one another is called gliding joint. The wrist joint and the joint between the rings of the backbone are example of gliding joint. You can see they move over one another. This is the toes and this is the fingers, and these are called gliding joint. Now this is a small clipping about joints. See it carefully. Now this is the skeleton. You can see different part of joint. The point at which two separate bones meet is called a joint. There are four types of joints in the human body. One is ball and socket joint, and the other is hinge, the other is pivotal, and the other is fixed joint. Now in ball and socket joint, one end of the bone is rounded and ball-like, and it fits into the cup-like depression of the other bone. Here you can see this is ball and socket joint. Now shoulder joint. Here you can see shoulder joint, and the shoulder joint, the head of the humerus fits into a socket of the shoulder girdle and thus help the arm to swing. This is called ball and socket joint. In the hip joint, the large ball-like head of the femur fits into the deep socket of the hip girdle. Now we come to pivotal joint. The bone rotates over a pivot-like end of the other bone. This is how it rotates. And the skull rotates on the upper end of the backbone. Now hinge joint. The joint moves like a hinge in one plane only, just like the hinge of a door. The elbow joint between the humerus and the ulna. This is called hinge joint. The joints between the bones of the fingers and the toes, and less perfectly the knee joint. Now fingers and toes, these are gliding joints, and this is hinge joint. Now fixed joint. In this joint, no movement is possible between the two bones. This is a human skull, and no movement is allowed, and it protects a very important organ, that is the brain. And in this, only the lower jaw is movable. I hope you have understood. See the video again and read the pages. Thank you.